Hello everyone, this is me Kish again. It's been a while since I recorded anything. Well, first of all, there was the December holiday break, and beyond that I was waiting for this recording so that all these uncertainties we had around Biden taking office and Trump's election, and the election got cleared, and the inauguration actually happens, and so now that all that is through and we are here, and Biden is in office and kind of starting to settle down. So that is when I felt it is a good time, in fact. And there are news stories in the last couple of months, but nothing earth shattering, to be honest, really, that warranted a faster, sooner video. But now we are here, and with Biden settling down, this is probably a good time to restart our videos, and today's topic is going to be what to expect from a Biden administration, right? So now Biden is president, and I won't go into a whole lot into how he got elected, what the elections and the issues around it, as well as the riots, not exactly riot, but the insurrection is what they call it, and all the mob entering Capitol Hill and all that. I guess I'm sure all of you have seen it on the news and all. My idea is not to spend a lot of time on that and give you my opinions there, but instead mine is more about looking forward. Now that Biden is in, however he got in, what is it that we can expect out of a Biden-Kamala administration? In fact, in one of my earlier videos that was before the election, I also spoke about both what to look forward from a Trump administration or a Biden administration, because at that time we did not know who was going to win. But now we know who, I don't know, has won is what they tell you. Okay, we'll go by that rather than, trying to, though I have my doubts about definitely how this election was conducted and how the voting, it did not make a lot of sense to me, the way the voting was done, or the counting was done, with things stopping in the middle of the night suddenly, and then days go by and slowly the new votes come in. But anyway, those are all water under the bridge now. So here we are with a new Biden administration. Right, so obviously, what is the future that we can look forward to if these people are in office even 4 years, or definitely if it is 8 years? Then I honestly feel that America is no longer going to be the way we see it now. Right, this to me is very clear, that in 8 years of, if at all they get 8 years of a Democratic administration, forget about 16 years or who knows, even longer, which is what I see as Democrats staying in for almost 2 decades, if not longer, from here on, because I don't see how the Republican Party, the way it is currently, is going to be able to win another election. We'll talk about it as well. So I forget about how America will look in 2 decades, but just in 8 years, I feel that it is going to completely transform, and the America that you see today is no longer going to exist, and it's going to be a totally new United States of America that we might be looking at in 4 to 8 years. So what do I mean by that exactly, right? That's obviously what you're all interested in. So we will go into detail on area by area of what I see is what is coming under a Biden-Kamala administration, wherein who knows, given Biden is almost 80, Kamala could be taking over at any time, or we hope the best, of health for Biden, both, as well as life as well as health. But we have to be practical, and he's a really old man. And, so let's hope that at least he can serve 1 term. Obviously, he's not talking about serving a 2nd term. So, so let's go into the details of the different policies. Well, gosh, where do I start from? I guess there are going to be so many messes that I think I see coming that, it's just simply too hard to count the messes. That's kind of how bad it looks like it is going to be, in my opinion, again. Right, so let's start probably from domestic policy. So again, in domestic policy, there are multiple facets. So what do we start from? Maybe should we start from immigration? Okay, that's a hot topic. A lot of things in domestic policy, of course, are hot topics. So coming to immigration, how is the policy of Biden going to be different from Trump? Obviously, it's going to be a 180 degree shift, right? Trump was anti-illegal immigration into the United States. Biden is going to be probably the most pro-illegal immigration person you have seen till date in office. And he is going to open the southern border totally, break down all the walls if there are any, most likely. And it's going to be a free, America is going to be a free sanctuary city for anybody. They're probably going to be like coronating or giving out some gifts at the border for whoever wants to come in. Of course, trying to give them citizenship and driver license and whatnot, all these freebie benefits, vaccines even, all that is anyway going to happen. But way beyond, even on top of that, anybody who makes it in the southern border may be garlanded, and there might be a red carpet welcome and a ceremony right there. Just that is kind of how bad it's going to start getting in the years that we will see, wherein there is going to be a rampant rise in illegal immigration. And the more that they provide freebies and they provide citizenship path and amnesty and all these things to the people who are already here illegally, undocumented, who just crossed the border or overstayed their visas and whatnot, however they got here, the more they do that, the more the number of people who will be wanting to come from these countries, South America, Central America, all over the world, into United States through the southern border, right? Because it's just going to be a big mess. And what does it do to the demographics? Not just are we going to be overrun by people coming in from the southern border, Biden is likely going to open all borders to everybody, right? Almost with no restrictions. So whether it is an H-1B seeker wanting to come into the United States, it doesn't matter. He's a guy from Hyderabad with all fake resumes. Those kind of folks will be invited to the White House, and they will have a photo op session with Kamala and Biden. That's kind of how the policy is going to look like. So everyone is welcome, irrespective of anything. And the worst of all that this is going to lead to is a massive influx of Muslim immigrants, right? Like the way we are seeing today, how they take a boat and somehow make it through and try to get into the Europe. So now they are not going to need to take any boat or anything. With Biden, they'll probably buy a first class ticket and get on a plane and come over to the US, right? And there will come a day when Bernie Sanders is probably going to start claiming and wanting to pass a bill in Congress saying that this first class tickets have to be paid for by the US government for all these people trying to come to US from the Middle East or from places like that. So there is going to be, in my opinion, in next 7 to 8 years, if these people stay in power, cities inside the United States that are Muslim dominated, right? Like how we have today in Europe. Like there is places like Malmo and whatnot, where I hear that the police do not enter these cities because it's kind of like there are so many Muslim population that they rule the roost. And they pass their own laws or whatever, they run it like how they feel like. And any crime, anything, women obviously don't want to go there, especially if you are an American white or any color woman who is not one of the Muslims wearing the burqa and stuff. So I am afraid that you might start seeing such places pop up across the United States, in various places, not just one or two. And I already see this kind of a shift with a lot of Muslim immigrants coming into Virginia. Like I used to be there for a while, and I was there 20 years ago. So from 20 years ago to now, I see that you cannot visit almost any national monument or, any like a park or whatever in that area without seeing headscarves all over the place. See, I'm not a racist person or anti-religion. I don't have a problem. Immigrants are welcome from anywhere. But the problem with these type of immigrants is that they're not looking to come to America. Sure, they're coming here to make a better living, to have a better lifestyle. That's true with all of us. But unfortunately, this has been proven and seen in every country the world over that these Muslim immigrants do not integrate very well into society. When they are small in numbers, they maybe keep their head down and stay quiet. But as their numbers increases, so will their demands, and so will their representation even in Congress. For example, today we may have 2 or 3 Muslim women right now who are in the Congress. I know a few. I guess some of you should be familiar too. I forget all of their name. Ilhan Omar maybe, and then there is another lady, Rashida Talib. Right? These are the 2 I know. Maybe there are more. So now it is going to start moving from 2 to 20, from 20 to probably 40 in the next 4 to 8 to maybe 15 or 20 years. So as these numbers increases, the menace that these people bring is also going to increase equally, right? And all the problems that arise from a influx of Muslim population that Europe is seeing, like France most recently, there were massive riots. There was terrorism when some cartoons were displayed of the Prophet Muhammad, which of course is not in a great light. But these all kinds of societal issues are going to start cropping up inside the United States. So, there is going to be infestation, in my opinion, of on one side Muslim immigrants and refugees, and on the other side illegal, undocumented, uneducated influx of Mexican and South American and all these Central American immigrants on the other side, who are all coming in here to enjoy the benefits of United States that United States has to offer. What do they contribute? I'm sure they do. Mexican or immigrants from South Central America are hardworking. It's not that though they may not be that educated or may not take up like a high-paying job in terms of something like a educated person coming on an H-1B might take up. But despite that, they definitely work hard. And I guess based on how things go, maybe some of them pay taxes as well. So that's not the issue. The issue is, how does this change America demographically, culturally, and and the face of United States as you see it. So like this type of a change is already very visible in like many parts of California, as an example, right? Where there are many places where the white people are in minority in California neighborhoods. So that is going to become more of a norm across the United States. It's not that nobody is saying United States should be only for white people or any of that nature. So, but there will bring this type of a change is going to bring its own type of new tensions and new problems in terms of people assimilating into what is known as the boiling pot and the American culture and the American dream. So all this probably will have to start getting redefined over the next 8 to 10 years and further, right? As the face of America starts to change, it no longer is an Anglo-Saxon country. This is not like the immigration wave that happened in the 1800s or in the first part of 1900s and stuff like that, where people got on from boats and they came over from Europe and they didn't speak the language when the first immigrants arrived, but slowly their kids went to school and started becoming Americans, learned English, and assimilated into society. This is unlikely to be such a case. Whereas here, immigrants are going to be very less likely and more reluctant to give up their own individual cultures that they come from, They are probably going to be spawning up schools teaching Spanish or Arabic, and the whole section. There'll be areas probably where only Spanish is spoken. There'll be other areas where Arabic is dominant, and so that rather than English, which is kind of now the universal, one language across, that will still stay, but you might be seeing parts of how, for example, in Canada you have like a French Canada. There could be a Spanish America, there could be an Arabic America, there could be a another Indian America, probably Hindi America. All these kind of new Americas might be starting to pop up as we go through this type of a liberal democratic administration that has completely open borders and no restriction on immigration, right? So this would be the cultural type of changes that I see coming under a Biden administration. And what this does is obviously it makes the local white population more and more insecure, and they will have to leave such places like they do from California now, and not only due to the demographic reasons, but even through economic reasons, and start moving inland or into places where they feel more comfortable about, right? So, but that can only happen for so long, because with open borders, these people are going to be all over the place. There is not going to be a place, where you can control or stop them. So it is going to become a more of a completely mixed, completely new face of America than what we are familiar with as of today. It's not that we don't have immigrants. It's not that we don't have people speaking Spanish or Arabic or all these languages and cultures today. We do. Yes, America is a diverse country. But the level of diversity is going to be rising on an exponential scale when Democrats are given a free hand, and when under a Biden and Kamala administration, which could, if that is for 8 years, and who knows even if it continues beyond those 8 years, right? This is as far as immigration is concerned. Now coming to economics, what can we expect under economic policy under the Democrats? So obviously, and this is, I don't think it's a surprise to anybody, so Democrats are, especially the more vocal ones who are in Congress, are more and more anti-capitalism and more towards more in favor of socialism. So there is obviously going to be a major slide away from capitalism and more towards socialism, right? And all the policies will be more and more. They will get to be more socialistic in nature. So though we have elected a moderate Democrat, Biden himself may be a moderate Democrat, but all the people, majority of the people surrounding him, including Kamala, are all really socialists, right? So he will have very hard time not doing socialism, and not just him, not just the politicians, even the people of the country are today in a way, I wouldn't say yearning for socialism, but kind of starting to believe the theories that socialism is better than capitalism, and this is where we should be doing. Why is my student loan not exempted? Why am I not getting a handout from the government? Why am I not getting a check from the government, or this free or that free? So people are also starting to look for all kinds of free stuff from the government, and that's become a norm, and it's no longer a shame or anything as things used to be in America, where you don't want to be relying on the government. Now any crisis, any problem, the slightest thing that happens, the first thing everyone is lining up for is, hey, how can the government help me? Where can I get something for free? Right? So the progress towards, or the move towards this type of socialism, stealing from the earners and providing freebies to the non-earners, is going to, or not necessarily non-earners, but lesser earners, or steal from the rich, tax the rich through taxation, not stealing literally, right? So you just send politicians to Washington who will do the job for you. So tax the rich and distribute among the poor. This type of policy is going to become more and more rampant. We already are seeing, and when the taxation is not enough, the printing is going to begin, right? It is going to be massive deficit spendings. If under Trump we were the deficit reached $1 trillion, under Biden you can imagine how many more trillions or what per year is it going to reach. Is it be 2, 4? I don't know. And for as crises occur, the amount of spending is going to even go through the roof. So now we are talking of a 1.9 trillion coronavirus relief bill. So imagine if we get hit by another wave and there is going to be another lockdown, what is the relief bill going to look like? 5 trillion? 10 trillion? So there will come times when trillions will have no meanings in this country, or that's the kind of level of spending and printing that is going to be needed in order to finance all these deficits and all these socialism, because just taxation alone is no longer going to be enough. So continuing from before our conversation, so we kind of got into the economy and socialism and policies of the government, financial policies, but kind of let's backtrack a little, staying on the immigration item. I also wanted to come speak about one extra point, that is why, in my opinion, I think that a Republican, probably other than Trump, has no chance of getting elected in this country, at least for the next more like 16 or if not 24 years, right? And let me explain to you why I feel this way. With Trump, probably, I don't know if before 2024 itself, if it's even an option, where the real results of the 2020 election get declared and the real winner, who was Trump, somehow is able to prove, and I don't know what happens in that case, that massive fraud has really taken place, which all the smell tests clearly tell us that. But anyway, and without evidence, obviously the case cannot be made. And folks were saying, oh, there have been multiple cases. See, it's only been 3 months since the election has taken place. So Democrats themselves investigated Trump on Russia for years together. So you cannot expect that within 3 months all the facts are going to be out, and Democrats, even Biden himself, has been in Congress, has been in the government for 47 plus years. So it's not going to be so obvious if there is fraud, right? It is going to have to be investigated thoroughly. And what is the unfortunate part is, such investigations ought to be something that the media should be doing. Media should be questioning this. Instead, of majority of the media is kind of in bed with the Democratic Party, and they have already kind of signed off and written off that, hey, everything was great, there is nothing to question, there is nothing to see here, in any case. So hopefully, even if not that, luckily, at least the impeachment, another sham from the Democrats, just another, just because they hate Trump, they want to impeach him. So this has failed, and so Trump can, at least as of now, still run in the 2024 election, which I think is the last chance, in my opinion, to save the United States from the consequences that I am discussing, or I am going to be talking about in this video. I already talked about the immigration part, so now we will talk about the economics part, right? So if we don't get Trump, neither, in my opinion, again, neither is there going to be a country remaining, nor is there going to be a culture remaining, nor is there going to be any prosperity remaining if you allow Democrats to continue to an 8-year term, or even a 16-year or 20 years. Now let's talk about why I think beyond Trump there is unlikely that any Republican will ever get elected. So let's look at the current election itself of 2020. Joe Biden got 7 million more votes than Trump, or something like that. Even Hillary had gotten 3 or 4 million, some in that range, more votes than Trump, though Trump won in the electoral college. Right, so what does this mean? Who are these 3-4 million extra voters? They are people sitting in California, sitting in New York, and sitting in overly liberal, already, overwhelmingly liberal states like these, who are going to the polls and voting for Democrats, but their vote is not getting counted or not getting value, value, because that state is already so predominantly liberal that these votes really don't make a difference in the electoral college. So now, first thing is, in 4 years or in 8 years, imagine the number of how many more millions of immigrants will be coming into the United States, or how many more illegal immigrants, undocumented, if Biden succeeds, are going to be given citizenship. That's his plan. So all these are going to turn out to be Democrat voters, no matter which state they are going to be in. Right? So as it is, half the red states are probably, these guys are going to try to turn them blue, which is states like Texas, Arizona, border states have a lot of these illegal immigrants. Of course, California has the most, but California already doesn't need them. So what they're also going to do is, all that they have to do, the Democrats, is move a bunch of these 100,000, 200,000, 500,000, depending on how big the state is, so many people over to this new state from California, from New York, wherever these additional 7 million, whatever million extra voters are. Right? So you just shift them over to a place like, say, Texas, Arizona, Georgia, all these kind of places, Florida even. So none of these states can then ever be won by a Republican. Why? Because the margin of victory, as we saw in these elections, is like 100,000 votes, some places even like 10,000 votes. So all you got to do is flood in a few number of voters into these places, and that's it, the state is going to turn blue. And this has already happened in Virginia. Virginia is the best example for you, wherein Virginia was a traditionally red state, a Republican state for probably hundreds of years. Suddenly, recently, I guess a few years ago, turned totally blue, wherein they voted both houses as well as the governor for the Democratic Party. And how did that happen? It's thanks to the whole kinds of new immigrants coming into the Northern Virginia area, which has totally turned blue from the traditional red. And now they are so overwhelming that the number of votes in Northern Virginia is more than the ones in rural Southern Virginia. So, this has turned the state blue, and probably, I don't know, maybe not returning red for a long time to come. So, unless there is a Republican who can really energize every single, red person, Republican person in that state to go out and vote in crazy numbers to beat the wave of Democratic voters that are going to flood in from immigration, from moving over. As it is, as you can see, things are so bad in states like California, New York, the taxation, the cost of living, thanks to Democratic policies, that people want to leave from there. And I myself, having lived 15 years in California, could not take it anymore and ended up moving and, getting back to, move to Texas. So imagine, and I know bunch of friends of mine, who are all hardcore liberals, who have moved here along with me to Texas and are voting Democrat in Texas. Right? What is this going to do? It's only a matter of time now that more such people move in, more immigrants and undocumented folks get citizenship, and they're all going to go and vote for a blue candidate. And who knows, Beto O'Rourke may become a governor of Texas or senator of Texas or anything, even president of United States. One day, that it would not be a surprise, along with probably AOC, as his running mate, or the other way around. In future down the line, in an election, you shouldn't be surprised if something like that happens. So that is the reason why I feel the Trump is the last chance, because he has the charisma, he has the popularity, he has the outsider guy image. that the rest of them typical traditional Republicans don't have. I don't see any really that charismatic leaders in the Republican Party right now who can carry the country, who can energize the base, who can energize the non-base also to come in and vote and also in such overwhelming numbers that they defeat how many ever legal, official and unofficial Democrat voters. These guys are going to turn in their favor, to come in and vote for them. So I feel that this could be the last chance, 2024, if not sooner than that, for President Trump to take back this country. And again, it's still only temporary fix. It's not going to solve anything permanently, because eventually, sooner or later, this country is turning to socialism, which we will discuss in a second. And liberalism is going to run rampant. And which we talked about in terms of immigration. There is a whole bunch of other things under liberalism, like the environment we can talk about a little bit, gay rights and women, transgender in sports, and whole lot of cultural and all kinds of changes that are in this banner. I don't think I even want to discuss many of these. It is just abortion rights and whatnot. So the United States basically as a country is going to be completely different. Let's put it that way. In 8 years, if Democrats are continued and allowed to be in office, which I don't think many can stop at this point too, other than only person I see is Donald Trump in 4 years time, hopefully. So that is the only last hope that I see for United States, right? And why do I think that? So one, we already discussed how the culture is going to change in the country. We kind of touched upon other aspects of liberalism, which may change the country, but I don't want to go deep into that. But let's start now talking about the economic policies of a Biden, Kamala, and all other future Democrat administrations. What are they likely to follow, and what are the consequences for United States out of this? And finally, we will probably touch a little bit on foreign policy, though I have already recorded multiple other videos on foreign policy, so I won't be going in a lot into that, because you can go listen to some of my other videos. One is whether Kamala is not going to continue the Democrats' legacy of starting wars and causing misery. There is a video on that already, which goes into the detail of the history of Democrats. Plus, there is a video I have recorded on the future of India under Modi, which is related to the United States and Democrats, though it is about India, because they are going to be very tightly coupled and joined at the hip almost as allies in the world against China. So which is probably the future likely going to be with the Democrats. And so I've gone into a lot of detail there, so I won't be repeating those in this video. And plus, for people from India themselves, I have even recorded a video in Hindi, which is titled Aaj Ka Mahabharat, so they can understand in their own language the players in play in the world today in terms of foreign policy and international politics, and how this can all lead to a very disastrous consequence of a likely World War III, right, under the Democrats. So I again will not go into a lot of detail there, so you can always go listen to those videos. So coming back to economic policies under a Biden, or more than a Biden, yes, Biden will slide towards socialism, but really the slide may pick up or pace and really go all out socialism, likely with Kamala and folks who might come after her, like an AOC or somebody from or someone else from the Bernie Sanders camp. Who knows who that could be? It's more and more socialism, and we'll talk about that in more detail and its consequences. So like we discussed earlier, see, today everybody in the United States is already have kind of gotten used to looking forward to a government freebie every time there is a crisis. right? Like unlike say during the Second World War, when Americans were called to fight in the war, people made a sacrifice, right? They had to quit their jobs. Many industries went out of business, things like that. You had to stop making cars and start making bombs and whatnot, and tanks and stuff. So there, and for people may had to die going to war, enlisting in the military, and then because the husband went away, maybe the wife had to take up his job in order to make ends meet and take care of the family and things like this. But during all this time, the people sacrificed. The government did not give them a handout or any sort of a freebie to make up for all this hardship and to make up for the for the fact that people lost jobs or bombs were falling on them or things like that. Whereas nowadays, even in the smallest crisis imaginable or whatever, if a fly bit you on your face or something like that, silly as that, they're all looking for, hey, where is the government going to give me? Where is my next free check from from Uncle Sam? This is kind of the mentality, and not just that. All these Keynesians, all over the government are just looking for after every crisis. They're like, oh, we just have to spend a lot more. We just have to print a bunch of money. Don't worry about the deficits. They don't matter. Don't worry about the debt. It's not an issue. America issues its own debt. So it doesn't matter how much we print. It doesn't matter how much we spend. We just have to keep on spending. That's it. That's all is the solution. That's the nirvana. So as long as everybody has gotten their checks from the government, however, free loan at 0%, and people are shopping in the malls, and people are going on vacations and doing their thing, it doesn't matter how much debt has racked up on the credit card or whether on the US government books, all those, none of it matters as long as everybody is spending like there is no tomorrow. Right? This is the remedy again and again that we have seen repeatedly. Just right now, what is going on? A 1.9 trillion COVID relief bill that Biden wants to pass, which most likely is going to pass, given that Democrats have total control. But of course, this may need some Republican votes as well. But I'm sure with a few, if they add in some pork, of course, they'll find some people who are going to support it. So with some changes maybe, but eventually, there is going to be a massive relief bill that's going to be passed. And the calls for more and more freebies, right? Whether it is student loan exemption, whether it is, all kinds of free healthcare or socialized healthcare, every sort of, free stuff is going to be demanded. People are going to be eager and looking out for these things. When is it going to come to me? And the government and the officials will continue to oblige. And obviously the path is first, try to increase taxes as much as you can, right? On all the rich people and earners. Obviously the rich are going to have a target painted on their back, that, hey, you are making so much money, but you're not paying your fair share. And you're trying to avoid tax. If some people are doing that, there is going to be all kinds of crazy, guys, IRS will be released behind them, who will go into, it doesn't matter which hole in which corner of the world or even in Mars, like maybe Elon Musk kind of guy who goes there, is hidden something there. They're going to go and investigate that also to ensure that, you're paying your every last cent and dollar of income tax that the government is expecting you to pay, and that they will keep on jacking the prices and jacking the tax rates over and over as as they have to provide more and more freebies. Like the best example of what this policy does and the outcomes of such policies is obviously states like California and New York. So look at their state, how they fared in the coronavirus, crisis itself. And now what does it do? California, which was already in deep shit in terms of the budget deficit, to tax even those guys who are trying to leave from California, so that, hey, if you earned your money in California, no matter where you go or how long you're out of California, does not matter, you're still owe money to California, right? So similar kind of policies. And then look at the cost of living in California. Gas used to be $4 or $5 when I left over there, where everywhere else, like in Texas, it was $2, right? So the cost of housing, it is just unimaginable. I could not afford to buy anything in California looking at just the prices. They're insane, right? The cost of anything like a parking ticket or like a traffic ticket used to be like $500 minimum. This was years ago, right? The government is just looking to fleece you in every possible way, and all kinds of every single cost of living of anything, rents, home prices, all are through the roof and insane and completely unaffordable to any average earner living in the United States. Not that I'm average, or even though you're above average, it's still pretty expensive in these places like California, New York. So imagine under a Biden Kamala administration how these same policies, which are a huge failure in California, are going to now be implemented out of Washington. So all this is going to make is, it's going to make the entire United States into a California or a New York slowly over time. So it doesn't matter which state you are going to live in, like we, for example, in Texas, because Texas is also going to start becoming a California sooner or later. So the interesting expression or a funny thing to think is, Trump built the wall to keep Mexicans out, but Democrats are likely going to use it to keep Americans in, so that they stay in America and keep paying their taxes that they need to support all the freebie programs that they are going to initiate. Every passing season, every crisis that comes out. And when all the taxation is not going to be sufficient, what is their next step? That is only deficit spending is going to go through the roof. $1 trillion, $2 trillion, $5 trillion. There is not going to be end to it, to an annual deficit of, who knows what astronomical figures it is likely going to reach. I think this year it's already around 2.5 trillion is the deficit, thanks to the coronavirus, the lockdown and stimulus and all kinds of spending that had to be done after that. So now even a 5 trillion deficit one of these days, this is just for 1 year, should not be a surprise. It is likely going to happen if 8 Democrats are in power for 8 years. One of these years you might see a $5 trillion deficit. That's like or more than double the total tax collection that might happen. In the United States, I guess the tax collection for a year is about 2.5 to 3 trillion. I don't have the exact number, but somewhere in that range. So, so they might even spend double that money just in deficits, right? So forget about the revenues. And then the Keynesians will all come out, hey, don't worry, this is just nirvana. This is just what is required for an economy like this. Deficits don't matter. Debt doesn't matter. We can just print as much as we want. And then what is going to happen? They're just going to rake up debt like crazy. We are already around $30 trillion in debt. So by the time these guys are done, give it 8 years, they may double, who knows, even triple this, $25-30 trillion debt that we are at right now. So, and I don't know which sane person in the world will still continue to lend money to the United States, and that too at the interest rates that they are right now for the 10-year or a 3-year, 30-year treasury, which is hardly like 2 or 3% or less than that. No sane person is likely to lend money to the United States at such low interest rates as the debt keeps going so crazy. Plus, the problem that the Federal Reserve is also going to face is, no matter how much inflation goes up, they are unlikely, when the debt numbers become so high, it is not going to be possible for them to raise interest rate, because if they raise interest rates even to 1%, just paying the debt, the interest on the debt, which could become 40 trillion or 50 trillion, who knows, in the next 5 years or 4 years, chance. So with that, I think I will conclude this video. So we have gone into mostly domestic policy issues rather than, and just touched upon foreign policy. So the bottom line is either it is Trump now, or we don't have a country or a culture or prosperity remaining in the United States if Democrats get even 8 years, if not 16 or 24. America is going to be done. There is not going to be the culture that we know. There's not going to be the prosperity that we know. And finally, there is not even going to be a country like we know today. That is the future I see with Democrats. And it's almost unstoppable at this time even, because the people are, they're just, they all are looking for socialism. All are looking for all kinds of free stuff, and they're okay. They want open borders, and they want all kinds of liberal policies all over the place. They don't want any restrictions of any kind on anybody for doing anything, right? So this seems to be the mood of the people as well. So it's going to be very difficult. I won't say everyone, but a significant majority were also very vocal at the polls too. Given that, and who control the media, who control, almost nearly everything that matters in this country at this point. So Republicans, the opposite party, is going to have a very, very tough time in the coming years. And I guess the only way they can survive is they have to also start adopting some form of socialism into their policies, is what I see. I see that a moderate Democrat like Biden is going to become the new Republican eventually, and the most left-wing guy like a Bernie Sanders is where the Democratic Party is going to be more like. So in a future, I don't know, 2028 or 2032 election debate, the argument is going to be more like, okay, does my freebie apply only to the solar system? Is one guy is going to say, and the other guy is like, oh, why does it only apply to the solar system? Why not to the entire universe? My freebie is going to apply to the entire universe, right? This is the kind of argument. And then the guy who makes it apply to the solar system is supposedly the Republican. And the guy who wants to open it up to the entire universe is the Democrat, right? That's kind of where these two parties or Republicans are going to have to start slipping towards. Also, in order to even have some survival in the United States, given where the politics is headed. They have no chance talking capitalism, talking conservatism. None of this is likely going to fly in future polls. Maybe with Trump, we have one shot with all this in 2024. That to me sounds like the last final option before things go all, completely over to the Democrats, with no return possible. That is the future I see, unless there is something, people wake up and do a change course right now, which I don't think is sounding very unlikely. So that is my prognosis, and that is what I see as the future of the United States under the Democrats. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, share, and subscribe to my future videos as well. Thank you. Have a good evening, night, whatever time it is out there. Bye now.